Hello, my
Hey,
friend.
there you are. What's going on?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Glad we got that going. I'm a little slow today. I don't know what's up with that, but
First
everybody all
off,
right?
happy Independence Day.
Thank you, my friend.
I wasn't planning on this interview today, but it's sort of perfect. I was realizing that independence equals freedom, so we're basically going to talk to you about the freedom that you got from your recovery.
Works
Um,
for me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I
Yeah.
just wanted to start out by saying, asking you how long you've been in recovery, or what you would consider. And actually, that's a great double question. What do you consider recovery?
Recovery is the road to getting better. That's
Okay,
what I would consider that. Not staying where you were at first place.
sure.
The I guess the outcome, what happened, you're no longer there anymore. So August 2003 is when I started to actually get better, start the road to recovery. And I always say it started with one step because literally I just took one step to start. So that's kind of a slogan I go by.
Okay,
And so, yeah, it's been a while. It's been about, well, I think this is my 11th year. Yeah.
that's
So,
amazing. So,
yeah.
okay, let's go back then to 2003 and sort of paint the picture. I know your story. It's a phenomenal story, but for people that don't, sort of paint the picture. Maybe even how you got there, what that last moment was where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I got to figure something out.
Yeah, I was always bigger growing up. Like, I've always had, like, a little bit, I was a huskier kid.
Yeah, yeah,
And, um, I'd like to eat. I was always wanting to eat. And food had like this special place in my heart to where, it was tied with my family. There was common ground there. We would eat together, and there's emotional tie to it.
sure.
I loved it. I would come home from school and I'd go right to the fridge. Hi mom, hi dad, let me get some food. Stuff like that. So I was always kind of addicted to food. Well, that addiction kind of got out of hand later on in life when I was diagnosed with anxiety and panic attacks at age 14. Um, Now, with the anxiety and panic attacks, I would just tweak out, freak out all the time. I thought I was having a heart attack most of the time because it just mimicked those symptoms. And
Yeah,
to cope with the
I
anxiety,
want to interrupt there because I've had a few panic attacks. For people that don't and haven't had one, they are
yeah,
terrifying. And the first time that you do have one, you think you're having a heart attack. I mean, I thought I was like, I, I think early 30s. I was like, I can't believe I'm having a heart attack.
yeah,
It's terrifying. Anyway, go on. So you were
yeah.
trying to self medicate in some way.
Yeah, and in food, I just tried to overcome that anxiety and panic, all those overwhelming feelings, and I would go to food because that would just take that away, that momentary moment of um, just where you don't feel anything.
Yeah, yeah,
It was like a drug to me.
yeah.
You take something that just kind of intoxicates you for a moment. Um, but then after it's all said and done, you're back normal. After that sugar high wears off and all the food's gone, it was like a 5-minute high, and after
Yeah.
that I was left low, and then worse off than before. But I just kept eating, not just with the anxiety and panic attacks, but also with like um, just when I was any mood that I was in, happy, sad, content, whatever, just I would eat, just because of the addiction problem.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter what it was. I would go for junk. I would go for healthy foods. It was just an overabundance, and took a toll on me. So I just kept eating, eating, and eating. And on top of that, I had the anxiety disorder where I sat all the time because it held me captive in fear so much
Yep.
that I thought I was going to die all the time. And I just sat because when I stood up, my heart would race
Hmm.
and it would tweak. I would get so afraid, so nervous that I was going to die. And I was even on medications, but didn't really. I mean, it helped, but there was no coping method that was working for me at that point.
Hmm.
Um, Not even medication. So it was 2 years of me just sitting and just overeating in abundance. And
Is this when you were
uh,
like 14, 15, 16?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I was always bigger,
Yeah.
but at 14, anxiety attacks happened, and that's when it really started. The food addiction really started picking up and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So
Hmm.
those 14, 15, and 16
Hmm.
were the years that I really started ballooning, and so that's how I got that big.
And then lead us up to 2003 and sort of, just give us the bullet points of how you got to the what I'd consider your rock bottom when you decided to make a change.
Yeah, I was so large that I would just be sitting in my bedroom, and I didn't want to move much. I really couldn't. 'Cause I was very immobile. Um, but it was a point where I had to go see a doctor. And so my mom and dad made an appointment to the doctor to get me to see what's going on. Why? I don't know why it was so late, but anyway, that being said, I don't want to demonize them. This isn't about them, but they got me to a doctor, and the doctor looked at me, and he said, "This doesn't look healthy," basically. So he checked me over, and then he sent me back home. Well, the next day or 2 days later, whatever, an ambulance came to my house, and they put me into the ambulance, took a bunch of guys to lift me into the ambulance, and they sent me to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to where they weighed me in at 799 pounds. Now, the doctors didn't tell me that, but they told my parents that. My parents told me, and then, these blinders just fell off my eyes. It was like, are you kidding me? Because I didn't realize it. I didn't realize I was that large. I knew I was bigger, but I didn't realize I was that big. Because I was so content with food and content with life, I guess, to where that stuff didn't really bother me until I even saw myself. But I always avoided the mirror, so maybe that was a reason why I didn't really realize it. But I just didn't realize until that moment where they said, "You weigh 799 pounds," and all these thoughts going through my head. What am I going to live? Am I going to die? What's going to happen here? Just a bunch of things. And as you said, you had anxiety attacks. You can know what thoughts may go through your head at that point.
Yeah.
I'm that large, and whatever. And all of a sudden, all these thoughts come to your head, negative thoughts. And so I was just sitting in the hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there was just a decision I had to make. I had to either say, well, I'm going to do something about this, or I'm just going to die. And 16, you don't want to die. You have a life, a good quality of life left to live, and I didn't want to pass away that early. And so, I was always, at 14, I started my relationship with God, and that was a significant part to where this transition started, this transformation, I should say, started. Because at 16, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take my faith more seriously, to where now I believe I had a purpose in life. And so that changed my motive in life. So when I was in a hospital, I realized that, and I started eating healthier. I started moving more because I valued life. I valued myself, and that was a huge influence on my life.
So were you still in high school at that point?
Yes, but I was homeschooled. In 10th
Okay.
grade, I was actually started to be homeschooled because the anxiety and panic attack got so bad.
Got it.
It wasn't with the weight. The weight was bad. I don't remember how much I weighed at that point. I got to do a lot of thinking about that because I'm working on my autobiography, so I better get those facts right. But I didn't I don't remember. But yeah, I was in 10th grade, and then that's when I started getting homeschooled, and that's when I started ballooning even more.
And what would you say is sort of I guess we've touched on it, but do you have what would you say the number one thing that keeps you on track is now? Do you have something that you say to yourself, or you're just like, today I'm going to make healthy choices, today I understand the value of life, and I'm going to move in that direction? Because I feel like every morning, I've got different addiction issues that I'm in recovery for, and I feel like every moment's a choice, and it's like you can either go down the dark path or you can take a step here, even if it's uncomfortable. Even though I don't want to do this, I know I've got to do it today.
Yeah, this is my biggest thing where I suggest to everybody, find your motivation. What motivates you to stay healthy? What motivates you to overcome those addictions? To me, I have several things. Obviously, one's my faith. Another one would be my relationships with people, with my wife, with my parents, with my friends. I want to be around to see those people. I don't want to leave them early. Another thing would be my reputation and my example to people. Now that my story has recognition internationally and nationally, people are watching me, and they know my story. They know how much I've lost and everything like that. And so I'm an example to people. And I've inspired many people. And there's people who come up to me and talk to me, wow, I can't believe you lost that much weight. That's so cool. And you can let it get to your head. I can let it inflate my head, but I bring it back down to humble myself and say, you know what, I wouldn't be here if I didn't take that step. I wouldn't be here without the blessing of God. I wouldn't be here without choosing to do something about it. And I did hard work, but you know, I had to put the work into it. So I want to be that example to people. I want them to see that, you know, life isn't over. I want them to see there's a hope. So those are the things that I have in my head to keep me on track.
I love what you were saying. We were in the email back and forth, and I was talking about some of the questions that I reread right before we got on here. I love what you were saying about, and I think this is really important because a lot of people think that as soon as you make the decision to stop doing something that you know isn't good for you and get on the road of recovery, that it's just going to be easy from that point forward. And it's not, you know, I know it's kind of laughable, but I like what you were saying in your email about that you make yourself vulnerable. Yes, you are an inspiration. Yes, people love your story and it motivates them. But you talk a lot about you don't want to be fake. You want to tell people, like, look, I still have days where I'm like, I want that food. I want to eat that thing. I want to do this that I know is not good for me. Can you expand on that? Because I think for a lot of people that have that issue, they think that they have to be perfect while they're recovering. Right. And that's a killer, man. That'll just stop you in your tracks.
You know, depending on what it is in life if it's gonna destroy you, obviously you might have to stay away from it. But I'm always going to be transparent with people, and I don't want to be, I practice what I preach. I don't want to be a fake, you know. And so I do allow myself treats. I do allow myself to be a little lenient in some areas, you know. I'll have some white bread, and that's the stuff that made me really, really big in the first place. I love the stuff, you know. I love carbohydrates. That was part of my addiction problem. Mm-hmm. But I can have that today and be fine. I can stop at 2 pieces of bread. I can stop at buns, you know, 1 bun. You know, like today, I went over to my mother-in-law's, and my wife and we had a hamburger, and I don't know if it was processed or not, but it was on a white bun. But I stopped there. I didn't have, like, I'm not going to have 2 or 3 hamburgers. I'm going to have 1, and I'm going to have, like, watermelon with that. I'm going to have, you know, something a little healthier with that, or maybe a small bowl of macaroni salad with that. I don't know. You know, it just depends on what's there. But you're not going to be perfect all the time. There's going to be times you're going to fail. Because if you just want to go cold turkey all your life without eating, you know, stuff that you once enjoyed, there's going to be some issues probably. You're probably going to go crazy, and you're probably going to splurge again, and there's a possibility you might end up on the road you don't want to end up on.
Can you talk about, because I think we're hitting on some really great stuff, can you talk about what it is in your head? I don't even know if you've consciously thought about it, but when you were, like you said, carbs and bread used to be your thing, but today you had a hamburger, you can just have 2 slices. What in your head has changed that you say 2 and done? Like, what, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you have a conscious thought? Because I think that'd be helpful for people.
Yeah, I guess I just make up my mind this is what I want. I mean, I want to be different. I don't want to be the Justin Willoughby that was in the past that weighed 800 pounds or 799 pounds. I want to be who I am today, a new creation, basically, you know, somebody new. And so I have in my head, you know what, I'll enjoy myself periodically, but I'm not going to just gorge myself where I once was, because if I do that, I'm going to end up in the wrong road. I don't want to do that anymore. So in my head, I have that, this is what I want. I made my decision. I made up my mind. And even going in beforehand, like, I knew I would have something I'm not supposed to, I'm usually not eating, you know, that I don't always eat. And so I went in expecting that. But I also went in expecting that I'm going to have some watermelon. I'm going to have some water. I'm going to not drink soda, you know, stuff like that. I had a game plan going on, and I stuck to my game plan. There might be times, even periodically, if I'm walking into, like, a storm like that, I might ask my wife to hold me accountable. I might say, "Hon, I need you to tell me no." You know, it sounds like I need help. I mean, it sounds like I can't fend for myself, but you know what? If you're going to have an addiction problem,
accountability is everything.
You need to do whatever it takes to make sure that you're not giving into that. And if it means accountability, if it means staying away from it for a season, whatever, you got to do what you got to do to make sure you hit that recovery and make sure you stay that way. I had a game plan going.
You didn't say this word, but what I'm hearing is you've just constructed a much more balanced picture for yourself. like when you showed up at the barbecue, you were like, all right, I'm going to balance. I know this thing isn't, on my ideal list, this hamburger or whatever, but I'm going to balance it with these other things. So you have that conscious game plan of balance going in, and on top of that, you have somebody to hold you accountable. I don't think it sounds like you can't do it yourself. I just think that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's just like find like an insurance policy, like, okay, I got backup because
Yeah.
sometimes I fail myself.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think that's fantastic. How you touched on it a little bit. How's your recovery impacted your relationships with your family and your friends and just everything? Like, we want to focus on like the positive side of recovery. So the more we can like spin off into that would be great.
Yeah, very positive. My friends who are overweight always say you're such an example, or they'll write on my Facebook wall saying I really appreciate your story, or just stuff like that. So this being my hometown, Bradford, Pennsylvania, is totally proud of me, and they see my story and they're inspired. I've heard people come up to me and say, Justin, because of your story, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to lose weight. I'm on the road to do whatever. And what's really cool about my story is that it's not just about overeating. It's not just about being obese. I mean, everybody has an addiction to something. I mean, I don't care if you want to admit it or not. I mean, there's a lot of different things: alcohol, drugs, food, sex, whatever it is. Like, there's always something that we want to go to that fills that void in our heart sometimes, or fills that habit that we're missing. And so people come up to me and they told me that stuff, like, dude, I totally want to stop drinking, or I totally want to stop doing this because, if you could overcome what you did, I can overcome what I did. So I'm very positive. I've had some naysayers, people say, negative things against me at times. But you know what? You look at that and I say, there's nothing. I mean, I wipe it off my shoulder because there's so many more people who've been inspired, who I am helping, who have become transformed because of the story. So a lot of good things happening about it.
Well, those people I feel like are just projecting their own insecurities and fear onto you, and it has nothing to do with you. So.
Right, and you know what? I'm the type of person that if I were to see them, I would totally talk to them. I pray for them. I always try to remain humble. That's the thing. Humility is key for my story as well. I don't have all the answers.
Yep.
I'm just an example of some answers.
And you also touched on this, and I love it. Talk about. I said if you were going to give one piece of advice to somebody that's looking to get, that's at the place that you were, whether it's that weight or just a point where they're like, oh my God, am I going to die? I got to do something. This is out of control. What's the one? And I love your answer because it's a literal answer, but it's also a metaphor.
Yeah, I just tell them there's no quick fix. Like, so many people want a pill. So many people want instantaneous results, and honestly, you're going to have to put work into it. I challenge people. How bad do you want this? I have many people, and I'm not poking fun, but I have many people come up to me and say, I want to do something. I want to lose weight. I want to get healthy. Okay, cool. And they get into it for like 2 weeks, and then they just give up.
Mm-hmm. I
just say, choose. How bad do you want it, and prove it. Prove that you want it. And sometimes it sounds really harsh, but I can't, and somebody else can't hold your hand the whole time because we're people. We fail each other, and we're not always there for each other. So you have to be the responsible one and the mature one to say, I choose. I want this really bad. And so I just encourage people, choose to do it, and do what it takes to make sure that you can get through, that you can overcome those obstacles in front of you.
Yeah, and you also, what I loved, you said it literally begins with one step, which was all you could do at the $7.99 mark. I love that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Like I said, that's my slogan that I go by, because when I was in the hospital bed in Pittsburgh, I had these two nurses just pick me up like on either side, and they were holding my arms up so I could take a small walk. And my first exercise, just my first movement, I should say, was just one step. And that one step impacted the rest of my life. That actually started my road to recovery, because taking that one step turned into 2 steps, and that turned into 3 steps, and now it's into miles. Now it's into running miles. Mm-hmm. And so if I never took that step, I wouldn't be where I am today. you know. So it just took hard work. It took discipline. It took motivation. And like I said, there's no quick fix for that. But you have to choose to want it and choose to do something about it. So I would just encourage people to get going and just choose today what they want to do and just start. Just do something small, you know. Just get something going to start the train.
Are you? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a trainer now, right?
Yes, I was certified through the YMCA. Now I don't really do one-on-one personal training anymore. I'm more of a coach. I like to sit down with people, kind of put together a game plan for them, and yeah, I'll exercise with them, put together an exercise session with them. But mostly, I don't do one-on-one personal training like I used to. I'm more of like, okay, this is what worked for me. Let me help you put together something that might work for you. So like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I do suggestions, and I coach people through their problems like that.
So it's more of a healthy lifestyle coaching?
Yeah, I would call it more healthy lifestyle coaching. I'm probably more appropriate for that, yeah.
And I definitely remind me if I don't ask you, but I want to talk about your books and your ebooks and everything that you're working on, so that we can put links for people when we post this. But I'll close with that. I want to ask you, because there's a lot of the food addiction, the binge eating, anything around food is like such a hotbed of, you know, just it triggers a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of shame around it, and they're terrified to even talk about it, which is why we're having this conversation. I'm hoping that somebody who hasn't told anybody and is, you know, going through binges, that they'll see this and go, you know what, it's not that bad. People have had this and have recovered. That being said, like, there's some factions that don't believe in food addiction. I think that's, you know, I don't want to judge it. I think it's crazy, just because I have my addiction, and my definition of addiction is if you get so involved in something that it wrecks other areas of your life and you can't get out of it on your own. That to me is it. So yes, in my mind, food can absolutely fall under that. Will you talk about like what you considered it to be, your addiction and all that?
Just like any habit, you find somebody who smokes cigarettes. It's that substance that they get, that habit that they get to smoke. You find somebody who likes to drink alcohol. They drink it and then they just binge on it because they develop this habit where they need it.
Yep.
It's no different with food. I mean, it's kind of crazy because you need food to live.
I know.
But I believe that some people's taste buds may be overly taste budding. You know what I mean? Like that some people might have stronger taste buds. They may desire that more. I just have like, it's just a huge, you know, going to that's like, it just eases everything else. They go to food and they're like, just drowns me. This just drowns the world around me, you know, and it's very real. It's like this chemical, and it's even scientific. Chemicals get released in your brain.
Oh, yeah.
Feel good with certain foods. And so that is tied to an addiction. That can tie itself to an addiction. If you like that chemical being released, if that sets you free from the world for a little bit, you're going to go back to it, just like you would any other substance. Yeah. And so I definitely think it could be, you know, food can lead to an addiction problem. Some people say it doesn't. They must not have that type of addiction to food. But I bet you if I were to ask them something else that they struggle with, they'll say, oh, yeah, that does make me struggle. I do get tempted by this thing.
Mm-hmm. To get off course. What else do I want to talk about? The food addiction. I think that's it. Talk about, you got a lot of great stuff going on. You're working on your memoir, your biography. You got an ebook coming out. Like, tell people, I want people to be able to get in touch with you, maybe get some lifestyle coaching if they're interested. So don't be shy. Promote yourself.
Okay. I always refer people to my website first off at justinwilloughby.com. Just my name. I'm on there always posting new blogs and stuff like that. My new ebooks come there. I'm always writing. Every month I'm trying to release a new ebook, and just basically stuff about my life, you know, what I went through, how I chose to overcome these things. My newest ebook that I'm writing about is called Food Consumed Me, How We Overcame Food Addiction. And basically, which goes right with this interview that we're having right now, you know, I just talk about, you know, the reality of food addiction, that we sometimes look at food like it's a friend. Mm-hmm. Like we have this relationship with it, like it's this love relationship. But after it's love, it's a hate relationship because we sometimes hate ourselves for what we just ate. And so after we binge, we're like, I can't believe I did that. And that's not a real friend. Real friends do not make you hurt. Real friends will not make you and tear you down. You know, it's not a good influence on you. So I kind of debunk how people look at food like it's the answer to everything. And I want to talk about that in that book, and also I talk about how I overcame the food addiction. You know, what steps did I take? And we touched on some of those here in this interview, but there's a lot more that goes with that in my ebook, and that'll be available on July 15th. I'm looking forward to releasing that. There's a lot of people kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to drop. I think it's going to be a hot item for those who suffer with food addiction.
And will that be solely available on your website, or is that something we can get on Kindle, or how's that going to work?
Right now, it's just on the website. Eventually, hopefully, you're getting on Amazon, for Kindle downloads and stuff like that. But right now, they can go to my website at justinwilloughby.com, just download it off there. I'm sure they can. I haven't tried it on a Kindle yet, but I know that you can try it on at least a phone or some mobile devices as well.
Okay. Is there anything that I missed that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just encourage people to follow me online. I do interact a lot with people on social media. Okay. I'm always on my Facebook. It's just facebook.com, One Step Nation. And the One Step Nation is actually a really exciting movement. I'm just trying to give America an opportunity to take one step to become healthier. And so when I created the One Step Nation, I had a vision in mind to where America is going to become a lot better than it is today with health and choices that they make and stuff like that. So we're on a movement, and we're trying to make America healthy again. Because I think we all look around and we say, you know what? We have an issue. We have an issue. We love food, and we love things that definitely can hurt us in the long run. So I'm just trying to help America become better again. So my mission is to go and help other people. And so you can check me out on Facebook. I'm on the One Step Nation on there, so follow me, like it, and I just interact with people and keep them motivated.
I love the name One Step Nation. It's the perfect metaphor. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. So, really cool things are happening. I'm excited to see what the next level is going to be, and I just think that with the right timing, we're going to see definitely a big impact in the United States with healthier eating.
Okay, man. Thank you so much. We're definitely going to have you back, so maybe the ebook after that, too. We're happy to, maybe we can just get our conversation, focused specifically on what that is, and anything we can do to help people with their issues, because I believe that there are a million ways to the mountaintop. So a lot of people may, go the path that you went. They might go a different path. They could, there's 100 paths. So we want to provide them with all the paths, and I think yours is completely valid.
I always say, you take the information. It's like a horse. You chew on the hay and you spit out the sticks. So you take what works for you. Yep. And you say, oh, you apply that to my life. And whatever else doesn't work for you, because like you said, everybody kind of is different.
Yep.
Whatever doesn't work for you, you spit it out and say, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And that's the beautiful thing about America. We have a choice to do whatever we want at that point,
Amen. Amen. Yeah. Thanks so much, buddy. I really appreciate your time. And we'll be in touch via email and phone after this, and we'll let you know when this is up. And happy the rest of your 4th of July weekend.
All right, Sterling. Thank you, man. Have a good day.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
One step. Remember that.
Amen. All right. Take care.
Catch you later. Bye.